So I was thinking, just watching the news, like I'm sure some of you have, and with everything that's going on with just the economy, with whether the tariffs are going to work out, and a lot of the fears that are happening right now, and there's just so many things, right? As it has been, it's odd that so many of us have just had to get used to feeling the constant pressure of what's next, right? It's like that has been how many years now, right? We're going on years and years of just feeling like, gosh, what is going to be the next thing that goes down? What happens? What's up with the economy? What's happening over in Iran? What's happening in Israel? What's happening in Ukraine, right? What's happening with China? What's happening with trade wars? On and on and on. And I was listening to I think it was maybe a podcast or something, another podcast, ironically, and they were talking about this tension, and maybe it was a pour over podcast, maybe that's what it was, and which I would totally recommend if you're not already listening to them. They give you, as a side note to what I'm saying, they give you great perspective on what's happening in the news, and they just give you the news, so they don't go on and on. They're not yelling, they're not fear mongering, and then after each story, they give you a little bit of scripture to think about for whatever our cultural moment is, whatever's going on. And so whether or not they can take credit for this or not, I'm not sure, but this passage, at least I'm going to give them credit for. It actually comes out of Habakkuk chapter 3. And Habakkuk is a great little book in the Old Testament. He's a prophet, and Habakkuk is writing at a very difficult time in the Old Testament, of Israel, right? Or Israel of the Old Testament. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot of destruction. There's a lot of death and unfairness, crime. There's a lot going on, right? And so this prophet is kind of saying, God, what is happening right now? Like, why is this going on? So, and here's, after he vents and he complains and he's frustrated, here's what he says. So this is Habakkuk chapter 3, starting in verse 16. He says, I heard and I trembled within, right? I heard everything that was going on. My lips quivered at the sound. Rottenness entered my bones. I trembled where I stood. Now I must quietly wait for the day of distress to come against the people invading us. Right? That we're being wrecked. We're being destroyed. And yet here's God. Here he's so big, and yet this powerful enemy. And so now I just have to sit and wait for God to provide, is what he's saying in verse 16. And then verse 17, this is a famous prayer. Though the fig tree does not bud, and there is no fruit on the vines, though the olive crop fails, right? You're talking economic distress here, right? Food shortages. And the fields produce no food, though the flocks disappear from the pen, and there are no herds in the stalls. Yet. So this is terrible, right? It's awful, especially in that world. You think agriculturally, right? Now think financially for us today. You think stock markets, you think jobs, you think tariffs, you think issues with other countries. I mean, on and on. It says, yet I will celebrate in the Lord. I will rejoice in the God of my salvation. The Lord my God is my strength. He makes my feet like those of a deer and enables me to walk on mountain heights. Right? So, strength. Despite everything going wrong, despite death, destruction, misery, suffering, unfairness, everything, Habakkuk is able to end this prayer to the Lord by saying, Lord, I know no matter what's happening around me, I know you give me strength. You'll help me walk forward. You'll help me move through this. It's a great word from a prophet who really is writing in a much different scenario, a much worse scenario than we are, and yet he finds his hope in the Lord. Right? So hopefully that's some encouragement today that no matter what is happening, you can trust the Lord. For our context today, you can trust Jesus Christ. Right? Putting your faith in him is the real deal, and he will give you peace. So to see that, go to John in the New Testament, John chapter 14, 15, and 16. Right? Check those 3 chapters out, and then check out Matthew 11, verses 28 through 30, about what he offers us in the midst of no matter what's going on. It's great. All right, God bless. I hope this was encouraging for you today. Have a great day.